Board of Trustees special meeting and public hearing. I'm Dan Gibbons, the chair. We'll first call roll. Katerina, if you want to call roll, make sure we have a quorum.
Thank you. Chair Daniel Gibbons.
Here.
Vice Chair Anna Barbieri.
Here.
Brett Hale.
Here.
Cindy Sharkey.
Here.
Eric Barney. Greg Shelton.
Here.
Keith Dustin. Lori Stringham. Patrick Schaefer. Robert Young.
Here.
Scott Bracken.
Here.
Sherry Oren.
Here.
Tessa Spitzer. Tom Siren. Eric Barney.
Okay, it appears we have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and proceed with the meeting. First item on the agenda, consent items, the November 13, 2023 board meeting and public hearing minutes. Any comments or corrections to the minutes? All right, appearing there be none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Anna with Taylorsville.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second, Greg Shelton, White City.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Item 2, meeting is open for public comments. Anyone present in person or online wanting to make public comments? Okay, it appears there are no public comments, so we'll close the public comments section. Item 3 is discussion of the 2023 budget adjustment review. Pam Roberts, General Manager, and Paul Court, Finance Director. Pam and Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just kick it off with the narrative, and then Paul can get into the numbers. But he and I met last week and reviewing some of the fleet charges that we received in November. We did receive a higher maintenance cost and fuel cost than we had anticipated. And in diving in and looking at it, as you know, we've had significant increased costs related to labor markets, truck maintenance shop rates, processing fees for recycling, landfill tipping fees, and fuel prices. So in diving in and looking at it, you know, the question has been, is our aging fleet and older trucks costing more for maintenance? And we have hit that point. They do cost more. We're having to keep trucks longer than we anticipated. We did want to extend the life expectancy of our trucks, but out of, you know, none of the circumstances in our control, we couldn't buy trucks. So we're keeping them 8 to 9 years, and we're starting to see those really be more cost. And looking at cost comparisons per mile traveled for an older truck, an aging truck, it can be up to $1 per mile more. So say that an older truck is $6 a mile, and that's just fuel and maintenance. A newer truck is $5 a mile. That does not include labor. So those are some examples. And looking at it, Paul and I met with Andy King, our fleet and asset manager, as well as David Icka, our operations manager, and we're still doing deep diving in so that we can make sure going into 2024 we will be able to sustain the maintenance costs that go along with this. And so what we did is we looked at the budget. We will have under-expense. As I explained to each of you on the phone, we do have under-expense personnel, and Paul will get into that, but it won't quite be enough we don't feel, to cover the increase with recycling fees and fuel and maintenance. Okay, and so right now what we are requesting is to pull from our fund balance in the amount of $600,000, which will account for the overall projected costs. These amounts that amount we're breaking up into truck maintenance, 300,000, and then recycling processing fees, 300,000. We feel like that will get us to the balanced budget. We may actually have, under expense once we get to the, February, and we can look at all the costs, January, because we'll present the year-end report, all will, for, 2023 in the January meeting. So that's the narrative and what I have right now, and if there's no questions, we can move into the numbers.
Okay, a question. So, you were talking about the, cost per mile going from 5 to 6 for an older truck. What is the cost of the obviously, I'm assuming you don't have the cost of the truck included in that. So, what would the cost of the truck be on the term, like an average of cost per mile, up to where you designate a truck an old truck from being a newer truck? Like, how much does that add, that maintenance?
Is your question about the price point, the breaking point with?
Right,
maintenance
where's your
and
break
purchase?
even on your return on investment on the purchase versus how long can we keep the truck at a increased cost versus buying a new truck? So if you were to take that and average it out, how much would that increase our cost?
Okay,
Because that would tell you if it makes sense to really hold on to a truck longer or not.
correct. Yeah, and I know Paul has done some
Well,
diving in.
we've looked at that in the past. I mean, we didn't look at that in the last week or so, but when we looked at it in the past, it made sense to keep the trucks longer.
Right.
And our original plan was to keep like 4 trucks longer, but then it's kind of, our original plans changed just with the nature of the market. And so I think we could look at that again, and get some more current numbers. When we looked at it before, it made sense to keep the trucks longer just because the purchase price of those trucks has gone up significantly over 5 years, like.
Yeah, and I'm only curious because it's, obviously we're moving the money from one itemized category to a different one, but if it is indeed cheaper and not such a burden on keeping them maintained, where it makes sense, there is a line where it makes sense to hold them and not necessarily just buy a new truck.
Correct, yeah, we've saved on the purchase price, right, because we haven't been able to purchase a
Well,
new cycle
because of
for 2
circumstances,
years.
like you said, hey, well, we're forced to do this,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I was just curious how close that was.
And we can certainly come back with that, I think, in January, because we do have this year's data, which, again, it's pushed the life expectancy of the truck, so we should be able to pull that out.
Yeah.
Thank you, good question.
So,
Paul?
ready to,
Yeah.
if you move, please, Renee, on that. So this is what I just put together. Just step back a little. I mean, I knew we were gonna be close this year, and I told Pam in hindsight, maybe I should have done this in November. I was hoping, some of the costs would come down a little like we've seen in past years. So I apologize with the board meeting between Christmas and New Year's, but after talking with the auditor and reading some of the state statutes, I thought this was a better option than the other option. So when we look at this, we're really looking at total actual expenses versus total budgeted expenses. That's our concern, or what we're looking at there. And so the first column is November year-to-date actual 2023. And so that shows, that's what we actually did. And you can see there the total expenses are $23,483,000. That's through November. And then I projected them out through December. And you can see there on charges for services, we bill quarterly, and that's how we record them to our financial statements. And so that's why there's a significant increase there from November to the end of the year 2023 for revenues. But what I did was project out for 2023, that second column, where I thought we'd end up based on the information I have. And sometimes, like for fuel and maintenance, I'm just taking the number we got billed in November, using that. Sometimes I take it divided by 11 times 12 payroll. I actually look at the number of pay periods in December, and we have 3, so I adjusted that there. But then so that was projected for 2023. The third column over is the adopted budget for 2023. That's what we previously adopted, and then I took the adopted budget less the projected amount for 2023, and so you can see the different categories. And when we look at that, we can see that we're over in some different categories. The two main ones, though, are the two largest ones are maintenance and then vendor recycling fees there. And so that's why we thought, hey, let's adjust those two. That's fairly easy to do, and those are the two largest. But when we looked at it based on the projection I did, we were about 100,000 over. And that may not happen with accounting. There's a lot of adjustments we do after year end. We look at like things like accrued vacation and how much do we need to adjust that. I go out and we'll count cans next week and how many cans do we have, and we'll adjust that. And so this isn't a perfect number, and we're close and we're on the edge there. But I called and talked with our auditor, and just where we're at, I think the safe thing and the best thing to do is, I feel like we probably will exceed our budget, but we're close, and this is not an exact science at this point in time. But this gives us some room to work, and I feel like it's the right move to do. And so going over, if we add 300,000 in each of those categories, and you add that into the adopted budget column, which is 2023, and then the adjusted budget would be 600,000 higher on expenses, and then also the use of fund balance would increase 600,000. But as far as it goes, Pam mentioned personnel. We're projecting we're going to be almost 900,000 under in personnel, and so that still happened, but it just was not enough to cover everything that's happened on the expense side. And like I said, we have these two categories. We felt increased expenses in a lot of different areas. It hasn't been just these two. There's been other areas too where we've noticed it and felt it. So, any questions for me?
Just run over briefly, you're under almost 100,000 on personnel expenses.
Well, no, we're projecting 860,000 under on personnel.
860. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
So where do you think that came from?
it's mainly positions that have been.
Just unfilled?
Yes, vacant positions. And then it takes time too, even when people term it. Because to me, it feels like, hey, may feel different. It feels like we're starting to get more people apply for positions. But it still takes time, even, when someone leaves and you apply and you interview, and if things don't work out, you interview again. And so it's really just the vacant positions.
So, did I see that we're still looking for one full-time driver?
We actually have 3 vacancies.
I don't know where I saw that.
And we have, an HR payroll specialist that's full-time, and we are just, finalizing part-time customer service rep and a full-time customer service rep.
So we'll see this decrease probably by mid-year.
Yeah, we'll see. I think part of that is going to be just the general economy. And I feel like if the economy slows down a little, that, I think we're going to fill key positions filled easier. And so, I don't know, I think we'll get some of this next year. I don't know to that level. And kind of just where does the economy play out? Because I feel like lately, at least from my viewpoint, we're getting more applicants when we post positions. There for a while, we post positions and it was like crickets. And now we're getting applicants. So, not very scientific, but at least.
So we're definitely not going to depend on almost 900,000.
No, and on the budget for this year, 2024, we were up almost $3 million. I think, right around $3 million.
Yeah.
And so we took into account, these costs have increased when we budgeted for 2024.
And if I may, Madam Vice Chair, I think what you may be referring to is we have driver vacancies, but we're only going to recruit 1, simply because we're heading into that slower season. And we knew that this year was going to be so close on the budget.
Okay.
So we're withholding some of those other vacancies until next year when we ramp up again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, great discussion. Any other comments? Yes.
Just for clarification, Paul, and I think I'm seen this, but on that first column, year-to-date, that doesn't include the fourth quarter revenues, right? So that's why,
It did not.
that's why it jumps up to the
Yes,
24.
yeah, and that's why the loss, you always look at revenues less expenses, you see that loss, you go, holy smokes, you know, that's a big number. But what we do is for all the side load services, we bill that quarterly.
Perfect.
And so we've actually earned the revenue. If we wanted to, from an official accounting standpoint, we could record 2 months in there, but I'd be estimating it. And I just wait and do it at the end of the quarter, and then it's actual numbers. But we'll pick up, you know, 5 to 6 million here in the next couple weeks.
And then the next question, between revenues and expenses, you're pulling 2.1 million out of the fund balance?
That's what's projected, yes.
And so that's gonna deplete itself unless
Yes.
we do another
Yeah.
increase. What is the balance at the end of this year of our fund balance, in terms of how much is still left in there?
No, we're like 20 million,
Of the fund balance,
yeah,
How much is left, sorry?
20 million,
20? Okay.
yeah.
of the fund balance, I'm sorry, I was thinking cash.
Yeah, we have 9 to 10 million in cash and 20 million in fund balance.
Thank you.
So we have, that's a good question, we have capacity
Yeah.
there.
So in order to get them to balance, that
Yeah.
pulls some money out of that fund balance.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, let's move on then to item 4, which is our public hearing. Council, we need a vote to open and close the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to open the public hearing to allow comments on the 2023 budget adjustment. We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion from Board Member Pinion. Second?
Second, Greg Shelton.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? All right, the public hearing on the budget adjustment is now open. Item 4.2, citizen public input. Any citizens who want to make a comment? Going, gone.
Comment if that's okay.
Sure.
I just wanted to let you know that we actually had a couple citizens reach out to me, two specifically on my email to the county, and was curious about what was going on as far as the hearing goes. And so I just explained what was happening. And in both cases, I called both of them back, and they both just said, okay, they were good with it. They just wanted to understand. So I told them I would pass on that information. I will forward those names to you guys so you have those. But I told them I would pass that on at this meeting.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and this is so important that we air this publicly and that we did it here before the end of the year. So I think it's very prudent the way we're proceeding on this. So any other public comments, any other comments from the public?
I'll take a comment.
Yes?
Just want to say shout out to Paul for tracking the budget and making sure that we're staying compliant with the laws and rules that we don't go over. Appreciate that.
Amen.
That's for sure.
Oh, my goodness. Keeping everything on track and transparent and, wow,
Yeah,
out of the weeds.
It's really the sum of the big piece of our stewardship as Board of Trustees is the financial piece of it. So thank you so much, Paul. All right, any other comments or any comments from the board? All right, there apparently being none, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved, Greg Shelton.
We have a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, item 5.1, 2023 budget is requested. Any further, well, I'll take a motion on that item.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor of passing the budget adjustment for the 2023 budget, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do you want to do a roll call for that?
Do we need a roll call? Council says we do not need a roll call. So let's just go by a voice vote. So again, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the 2023 budget adjustment is adopted. There being no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Probably.
We have a motion to adjourn, a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi,
All right.
Happy New Year's to everybody.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Yeah, I started looking at the first part of this month, and I'm like, holy
Yeah.
smokes, we're really close.
Good eye.
I called the auditor, and I said,